What's up, guys? Welcome back to Yeah Football, episode number 6. My name is Fito, and this is my friend Milad. And today we have a lot of stuff to talk about in terms of what happened this weekend and in general throughout the week. I mean, we even waited a whole extra day to talk about it because, United and Liverpool played today. And we also wanted to put a foot in that before we have to take on the rest of the week. So I'm just going to get right into it. We started out the week with Dortmund winning 2-0 we started out the week with 2-0. Dortmund was winning, and then they crumbled to 2-3. So I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you think this is a problem that Dortmund have, that just maybe culturally, that they just have this way of, they start out well, or they're really fiery, grinding, whatever. Basically what I'm saying is they have the win in hand, and then they just start crumbling all of a sudden when it's the last few minutes. I think Saul wasn't playing, so then when he came off, I believe it just started collapsing. So what's with this Dortmund team in general that makes it so vulnerable when it's needed the most to hold down a win? 2-0 for 4 minutes left to score 3 goals against you. It's not the first time I've seen Dortmund losing an opportunity like this.
I just don't think they're that strong. I've felt this way about Dortmund for a while. Ever since maybe Klopp left, and they had some good years there in between, but that back line, I mean, Matt Hummels shouldn't be playing anymore, in my opinion. I mean, he's 33, and he just hasn't impressed. I guess it's difficult because, for Dortmund, I want them to challenge Bayern, and they're so far away, which is why I say things like, I don't know if Matt Hummels should really be playing for them. It's just, they have this issue. I think last year set them back as well. They have a new coach as well.
Yep.
The squad is meh. Again, the back line is meh. Everything around Dortmund feels meh. Everything just doesn't feel right. And so, again, we have seen this in the last few years of Dortmund choking away leads or collapsing or whatever it may be, whether to draw games, lose games, it is what it is, or even win games, but they had a 2-3 goal lead and they give away 2 goals towards the end. I've seen that happen as well. The team just feels like, the club and the team feels like it needs a little bit of a refreshment. Marco Reus is still performing really well for them, but how much longer can he do it? They did lose Haaland, and he had 2 assists. And they have Jude Bellingham, but he's probably going to leave next season. And so that's unfortunately kind of what Dortmund have become. They've become this club where you can really develop as a young player, and then you kind of move on. And they had so many players come through, and it kind of built an unwanted reputation around the club that you could come here, develop, and then go.
Right.
Where definitely. I don't want that to happen. I want them to compete with Bayern. That's not what I see Dortmund being. I want them to compete with Bayern. And they're just not there. The squad is not strong enough. I think I'll give the new manager some time, but they have a lot of issues really, in my opinion, with the squad. And that is why they have these issues mentally and just quality-wise when it comes to defending and trying to win games.
When you say something like that, it reminds me of how not last season, but in these few seasons, they've really struggled, how you say, because even when they have to play in other tournaments, for instance, in this case, it could be entering Europa League, or when they make top 4 and they go to Champions League, but then end up back in Europa League. Regardless of what competition, whether they be the first place Champions League, second place Europa League, they struggle to do in terms of both and deal with the league itself, the German Cup, the Pokal, and then back over to the whatever international tournament they're in. Going back and forth, their rivals, right, being, for instance, this week, 7-0, it's absurd the gap between the tables in terms of how the German league is, because it's almost you wrap up the season knowing that Bayern are exclusively a winner. Considering that one ends right now in terms of goal difference, we have 15-1. Right, Bayern only made one mistake in 3 games though, so there's still a lot to play for. But we're talking about 15 goals in 3 games, 5 goals per game. That's ridiculous. And if you're only conceding once to pick up 9 points, and then they're also going to play in other competitions, how do you compete against Bayern? The amount of teams, the difference also. Bayern's just... A lot of people complain about the French league and Italian league, but I think at this point you have to consider seeing maybe buying everything is not always the problem in terms of how a lot of people say that big clubs buy out the competition, and that could be a factor as well. But what I'm trying to say is, does the Bundesliga need a restructure in general? Are the competition not just doing it correctly? We're talking about 10 years, a decade almost. At least a generation has grown up to see Bayern as winners.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with the structure. I mean, it's not like Bayern, like you said, they're not spending a ridiculous amount of money. It's just the reputation that they have. They're a fantastic football club. They are terrific in every aspect of the club. And it's up to the other teams in Germany to compete with them. We've seen Leipzig, for example, get somewhat close over the last. I mean, I say relatively close. Like Bayern has to screw up many times, lose concentration, and for Leipzig to be within single digits basically. But yeah, we enter this season. It is very similar to I think how the French league is turning out right now. Is that no one can challenge PSG. And yes, Lille did win it a few seasons ago, but like we don't feel like in Germany there is a club that can really challenge them. And again, it's not because of money and these types of things. I just think some of the other top clubs in Germany need to really try their as well as they can to just keep their best players and not let their best players go. That's one of the main issues we're seeing with Dortmund and even with Christopher and Nkunku at Leipzig. He's going to go as well next season. They kind of have this agreement, when he signed the new contract, they have the release clause at a perfect price, and he's going to go too, and it's just going to keep weakening these teams. And I don't really know how you can get around that, because there's, the Prem has so much money, so if you want to go to a top 6 club in the Prem, or you go to Italy, and when you just think of Germany, you just think of Bayern. That's a tough situation to solve, because I really don't know how you can solve that. It's a wider issue.
They've thought about different things, whether to have, for instance, in the case of the Bundesliga, whether I agree with it or not, explore potential ideas, for instance, a playoff system in terms, while it's contradicting to the rest of the other leagues and the main leagues in Europe, how there's in other leagues in the world, they do use like a playoff system, or sometimes like you win the first part of the season and then there's like a break, and then there's like a second part of the season and you split into 2, and if the winner of the 2 parts of the series is the winner, then that's the final deciding winner of the tournament. Or if one team wins, let's say part A, and then another team wins part B, then they face again for what would we consider a final. Or there could be another of other variations that are presented in either Mexico and the rest of Central America and Latin America that present these types of ideas, because the idea was it is very supposedly less interesting to watch so many points in one. While we might not have the same ideals thinking of something like that, but that was a chance that they've given like that. I don't see the same reason can happen into Bundesliga. What I do see is the constant dominance of, for instance, Bayern, how you're saying a lot, to retain players is problematic. Whether it be a financial aspect or not, it is affecting a lot of the Bundesliga teams compared to the other places in Europe where they can compete. It could be something else because maybe it's just like, for instance, in Frankfurt's case, when they go to, for instance, in Europa League, sometimes they did perfectly fine, playing in two competitions. But showing the facts of how it is now in the Bundesliga and even how Frankfurt are now, they have lost some players. They try to gain some back. So I don't really understand where it could go for other teams in the Bundesliga, other than, for instance, this season, it might just go back to Bayern's way. We'll just have to see and wait. I wanted to continue on your touching about PSG because the same rant basically occurred this weekend. Instead of the clean sheet, it was the same scoreline except at 7-1. Something that we didn't address last week because I wanted to kind of avoid it, but it became a topic during the week, was Mbappe's attitude. A lot of people think that he has a problem in general with the rest of the team. He creates a problem in the dressing room, even with some people like Neymar and Messi. Is that actually problematic? Do you think that affects the team? Do these teams or these players, including Messi, including Neymar, including the rest of the line, the new players, is this ego maybe not being a problem, but is something to think about when going into, for instance, international competitions like Champions League and stuff, and their chemistry together? Or was it something, for instance, how we saw now, they seem perfectly fine working with each other? It didn't seem like they still lingered on what happened last week. So what is it? Is it just a spat for like 1 week and then perfectly fine another? Or is the media just creating this attention in general?
As someone who has watched Kylian Mbappe for his entire career, even before he came on the scene in Monaco, it's definitely not something we can brush aside, because in a weird way, this is the one instance where it's not, you kind of go beyond football. I mean, what has happened with Kylian Mbappe at PSG is unprecedented. The amount of power, money, things that were promised to him, we've never seen anything like it.
Right.
It's truly insane. And that kind of power and that kind of money can do a lot of things to people, and no one knows how you react until that happens. Now that's the storyline, right? That the media runs with, like,
Yeah.
oh, it's the money, the power, it's all gone to his head. I can't say that is a factor or not, but what I can go off of is what Kylian Mbappe does on the pitch. I remember when Thomas Tuchel was manager, when he subbed him off, and he was obviously upset, and Tuchel had to talk to him. I don't mind a player being upset when you're getting subbed off. That happens all the time. And Tuchel had to, just explain that. What I saw him do last weekend just simply is unacceptable. If I was a football manager, he'd come off the pitch at that very moment. I mean, that wasn't there. I don't think the media overplayed that or anything. It was just as simple as he didn't get a pass and he just stopped running, and that is simply unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
It shows a lack of desire to fight for the team. And just his body language and his mannerisms, you could tell he was not very pleased. And again, this is where it goes deeper into the politics of everything. Why did he stay at PSG and not go to his dream club that he's always talked about as his dream club, and he wants to go there eventually? And okay, he wanted to stay at PSG, but what made him do that? Does he not if your teammate's Lionel Messi and you're pulling off crap like that, it says a lot. Because Lionel Messi is the ultimate character. I'm not, maybe him and Neymar have an issue, but
Mm-hmm.
to do that while Messi's on the ball, on the pitch, maybe trying to find you, is just one of the dumbest things you could possibly do. So, and this is coming from a huge Kylian Mbappe fanboy, basically. I mean, I love the guy. Like, he's one of my favorite players. But the last few years, I could just tell it just changes. Just, the body language, the attitude, you can just see it. The smile isn't there as much. And yeah, this weekend they probably, we're told, like, guys, listen, no more of this nonsense. Work as a team and yada yada yada. And PSG can beat anyone in the Liga, but it's not gonna matter. It's never mattered. It's been like that for years. What matters is what goes on Champions League. What I think does matter right now is Neymar's form. I think Neymar's form is terrific, and I want him to carry that into the World Cup. And God bless he doesn't get injured within the next 2-3 months before that World Cup, and keep carrying that form and do something in the Champions League. But they're going to have to get along, and most importantly, they're going to have to work, because that's the biggest issue, is that in Liga they don't got to work. You can simply, with your talent, beat everyone in the league. But when you come up against Man City again, when you come up against Real Madrid again, when you come up against Liverpool again, and Bayern and all these teams that you have lost to previously, well, maybe not Liverpool, they haven't played Liverpool in a while, but you have lost to Man City, and you have lost to Bayern, and you have lost to Real Madrid, you will find them again, and you will have to put in the hard yards and put in the work and work as a team. And whether Neymar, Messi, and Mbappe can do that together, we have to wait and see. It's not going to be for a few months. And even the knockout stages don't tell me anything. No, I mean, not the knockout, the group stages. I mean, the group stages. The group stage of the Champions League tells me nothing. I will wait patiently until the knockout stages, where they will be there. They will be favored against whoever they play, barring probably Manchester City, and you could even argue maybe on their form currently Bayern Munich. But they'll be co-favorites, and we'll have to wait and see how they do. But they do need to get a hold on Mbappe's attitude. And I don't know how you do that when you give him the figures that you did, and also the rumored power that you gave him in terms of the dressing room. So it's a really unusual, unprecedented power grab political situation.
Yeah, I think to myself, I even talked to some people outside the normal friend group, that even family, to see what they think of it. Was it a brush off situation and stuff like that? Most people agree that it is a concerning thought. It's not something that I think maybe in media terms is dramatized a lot, because also Messi's on the pitch, and it does have to do not just with his passing, but for instance a simple bump. But I think the brattiness can show, and sometimes I think more importantly it needs to be put to control. It is worrying when it does come. It has been shown a few times before, never to this extent, that how we were talking about a run and play, even though you're not part of it, you're still part of the team. Someone has to mark you. You're completely off. It's like, well, okay, then I start marking Mbappe because I can go mark someone else. He's not even trying. So these things, these work ethics and stuff, this is important, and especially it's towards the feedback of your own players, your manager, and to the club in general. Whether that be in terms of money, I don't know. I feel like it's more towards the power that is giving, either at the club or in your own headspace. Maybe you think that you're obtaining this, and you need to perform for yourself, and I'm not gonna say it's completely in his ego, but it is starting to develop that way. So we can only hope that it doesn't develop completely alongside with his playing, because he's playing ridiculous as well, as long with the other two. It's just he has to stay calm as well, and maybe at this point, Mbappe is not a teenager, so he needs to put the aspect that he's also mature enough to handle moments that are not for him, even though he maybe feels like it is. Let's move on to a little bit to the Premier League now. Let's discuss what we waited an extra day for. Liverpool versus United. I don't want to dive a complete 30-minute essay on United again, because to be honest with you, I'm not even here to really talk about United. I'm really here more to talk about Liverpool. And United's point of view, they had a bombardment of people outside their stadium completely protesting, with the arrival of Casemiro as well, to see all of it. So all of this is happening hours before the game. Then a lot of the game starts, the lineup is set. You see Ronaldo and Maguire aren't on the starting lineup, and the team performs. And I can't even lie to you and say that this is it's impressive to think that these same players, may not be all of them at the same time, but they're the ones who lost to Brentford. And now they're performing against Liverpool, who seem like a constructive side. And it's almost like even I'm not gonna sit here and praise United for because I don't want to say anything, and then next game we come off against Southampton, and then it's just completely gone. I don't even know why I say we. I'm not even support United, but it's just so interesting how we all like wanted to United to win something at some point. It's been 4 years since they won against Liverpool, even. But yeah, I'm gonna let you take it away. But after you're finished, I'm gonna talk a little bit about Liverpool actually, more than United itself, because there are some problems.
Yeah, I'll talk about both. I mean, let's give Manchester United the credit. We all thought they'd lose, maybe except you. But I thought they'd lose. 99% of the world thought they'd lose. United fans thought they'd lose. Casemiro probably thought they'd lose too. But they ran and they showed energy. It's incredible. It's incredible what you can do when you run on a football pitch. Incredible, yeah. Absolutely incredible. Put the tackles in. Wow, get the 70,000 plus fans in the stadium behind you, because in the first 10 minutes of the game you put in tackles. You left something on them. I think Lisandro Martinez played an absolutely fantastic game, showing the physical side of it. So, and that's what Ten Hag wanted. That is what Ten Hag wants. Now, that's the thing. Everyone calm down. Even Ten Hag was like, everyone calm down. They didn't really play how Ten Hag wants to play, and that will take time. But you can win a game like that at home against your main rival and get the crowd behind you when you really, really need it. And you can basically fly on wings. Red Bull gives you wings. You can fly on wings if you can put in the effort and get the necessary people behind you, which is what they did. So give a lot of credit to Manchester United. But again, one game, and they still don't have a style of play that they can be around, and there's still a lot to do in the transfer market. And don't think that or for anyone listening, just don't think that they can magically, from the depths of rock bottom, that they can magically come back up. That is not how this works. And remember, it's only been 3 games of the season. Now, for Liverpool, this is exactly what you and I both said at the beginning of the season, and it's kind of coming to fruition way earlier than we thought it would. So what we both said is that Manchester City, I'll say, what I said, and then you can carry on what you said, but Manchester City and Liverpool are incredibly equal at full strength. We both know that. I think everyone in the world knows that. They are very, very equal at full strength when both teams are clicking and have their full squads and everything. But the main difference is that Manchester City can lose 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 players in certain positions when Liverpool cannot. Because Manchester City have a specific system, and the quality of the squad is deeper than Liverpool's, to where they can replace and whatever they need to when it happens. Now, I will say Kevin De Bruyne has been remarkably healthy for the past few years. So we haven't seen if you had to replace De Bruyne for a long period of time, but they have lost other players around the pitch, center backs and full backs and midfielders and everything, and they were able to replace and not miss a beat. That's the difference with Liverpool. We both said it. We both said if you lose a piece from this machine in Liverpool, it bogs down, because everything flows very fluidly. So what are they missing? Well, they're not missing Van Dijk at the back, and they're not missing Alisson at the back, and they're not missing Mohamed Salah in the front. So what can they be missing? Well, their midfield today was Harvey Elliott, Jordan Henderson, and my granddad, James Milner. That midfield is not going to win you many games.
Fabinho
because that midfield is it's not what they're planning. They're planning to have Thiago, Fabinho, and Henderson. That was their main midfield. Naby Keita, who's not even there. Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, both right-sided center backs for Van Dijk, next to them in Konate and Matip, all injured. Darwin Núñez with the red card. Okay, that's his own doing, but he's also a new signing who's trying to fit in. And most importantly, you can't replace the best player at Liverpool, and that was Sadio Mane. We've been saying this for years. You can't replace him. Yes, Luis Diaz is a fantastic player. Yes, I really, really love him. But Sadio Mane was the best player at Liverpool, and you cannot simply replace your best player easily. The front line's different. Bobby Firmino's completely out of form. So when you lose players, you lost one very, very important player in the front. Your midfield is completely shredded, and your back line also in the center back position is struggling with Robertson and Trent trying to figure out what roles do they have to do while they control so much of the possession of the ball, but then they could be attacked on the counter. And even Virgil van Dijk, who today looked so off, he just didn't look like he could move. He looked slow. I didn't really know what was going on with Virgil van Dijk. I hope he's healthy. If he is injured, he's not saying anything, and neither is the club, because he just did not look right the entire game, and he hasn't looked right for the majority of this season. So that's those are the facts. That's what's going on. It's not an excuse for Liverpool. They do need to perform a little bit better, but they are going through a transition, just kind of like City. City are trying to transition Haaland and Julian Alvarez and a lot of these other players, and Liverpool has to do the same thing as well. But they're also dealing with injuries, and they're dealing with a lot of players that really should not be in the starting lineup for them. And Manchester United took advantage of that, which is why I'm saying let's all calm down on Manchester United. Maybe miraculously, going and doing something crazy. It's not going to happen. But also let's all calm down on Liverpool's issues, because we saw this. We saw it a few seasons ago. It's happening again, and we predicted if it were to happen, this it could affect Liverpool in this way. The machine has a lot of faults at the moment in multiple different areas, and it is slowing them down. But in no way, if they can get certain players back in certain positions and try something in the transfer market, we all know who they wanted to get. They wanted to get Tchouaméni, but he went to Madrid. They want to get Bellingham, but he's not available for next season. So they want to hold off because those are two very expensive players. They don't want to do a panic buy. That's their strategy. But they will be back. They just need to get healthy. But that is why Manchester City have won 4 of the last 5 Prems. That is why they're the favorites, because they don't have to worry about that issue while Liverpool does.
Okay, so I think there's not really much in terms of I can add on. You pretty much said everything I was going to say, honestly. It's just, at this point, with 3 games, you've taken 2 points. You've conceded 5 goals. Right, so you have a negative goal difference because you only score 4. Your best defender looked like absolute garbage today. I don't know what was going on, but his mental state, and sometimes even in the first goal, you can see it. It was just off. And we even talked about it through text. Even with James Milner having a discussion as well, it didn't seem to fix each other up. Trent, it just looked awful during the buildup of the first goal they conceded. It wasn't even like Trent's Alexander-Arnold's placement in where he needs to be and where he is when there's an attacking style like that happens all the time, and that's one of his most costly parts as well. Especially when there's something like that happening, it's his footing and his positioning when there's an accounting side like that, like someone like in this case, who was on that side? Elana, right? Or so
Elanga, and then second half Rashford.
Every time it just seems to penetrate through. It almost seems to always be in that side, and that doesn't.
Right now, look at the right-sided center back,
Gomez.
That's the third choice right-sided center back. So the right side of the defense, and with Van Dijk out of form, that right side of the defense is just wobbly. We've seen this. We have seen the same exact story when Van Dijk had the injury 2 seasons ago, and they couldn't have a back line. We saw the same thing. So that's why none of this truly is a surprise. And we know what Trent's strengths are, and strengths are not getting counterattacked and defending. His strengths are on the ball. So that's the risk you take when you want to play that way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, the fact that we already talked about, I think we've said it now twice, 3 times, and even privately thousands of times. The whole reason that this team, and first off, the first real signing that Liverpool made to change Liverpool on what Liverpool is now is gone. It was at Bayern. That's 100% a fact. That's not a video could say that. So I could say that. It doesn't change anything. Luis Diaz is not a replacement for Sadio. Luis Diaz is an incredible player that has a future at this club, that he seems so surprisingly well, and he tries to really do something for the club. He tried to play it out, but I don't think it's just that. I think in terms of players like Firmino to put in work in different areas, but it's not successful in this type of thing. Salah may have gotten the goal, but today he was completely outclassed by Martinez. I'm just going to say that. Every time he tried to dribble through, he would stop the ball. He even complained 3 times, hit the floor that to himself because he couldn't get through on goal. So he obviously couldn't even dribble that pass like he normally would against an opposition, and it's not happening. It's not United. It's not a United game that's concerning. It's looking at the 3 games that's concerning. We've talked about so much on depth on this side, especially how you have now at least 4 of your main first starters out on injury, and then 1 with a red card, which will be back next game.
2 more games.
Right, 2 more games. Red. Right, it's straight red. Yeah. This is ridiculous. I feel like this machine that we've talked about is like pushed to its limit, but when it comes through, they just don't have the push and the stability in terms of whether it be injuries or in terms of when they have to really show. Because okay, it's one thing to win 4-0 like United did during preseason. We've talked about that a time before. Preseason doesn't matter. It's just to get the legs freshen up. So now come to this game, and most people considering Liverpool as favorites, they should be winning this game. It wasn't a no-brainer why they pick it like that. The only reason why I didn't say they were gonna win when we texted is because I know this type of stuff. I don't know it in terms of like, yeah, I wrote down the analytics and then went through the stats and then looked at the games and I'm like, this is 100% going to happen. You watch so much that you know when the games are going to happen. It's just so incredibly fascinating that you feel a United winning occurring, whether it be the atmosphere, the situational aspect, all of it. I don't know. Because in the next game, when they come up on Saturday, they could lose to Southampton. But it just felt like a Liverpool loss from the beginning. Liverpool have to play again also on Saturday against Bournemouth. And I want to see them turn things around. And they're playing against some interesting sides. They're playing Bournemouth and Newcastle. And then they're going to have to come up against in a Merseyside derby. So they have to get a leg on stuff like that if they're going to compete in this league. Otherwise, it's not... While they could be competing for top 4, I think at the current moment, they don't even look like contenders for to fight against City. So I really have nothing more to say on Liverpool's end. They just looked awful today. I hope they can pick it up in the future. Good job for United. I'll see you the next games for both teams. That's it.
It's not even like we're not overreacting on Liverpool. Just that, like they might not compete for the title.
Exactly.
It's just that we are seeing the injury issue basically for Liverpool. They have to be completely healthy, and Luis Diaz and Salah and Nunes is gonna have to hit the ground running again, and City's gonna have to slip up again. They did it last season. They were down by like 12 points. They got cut back down to 1, and all that stuff. But we can clearly see that City has strengthened, and Liverpool have stagnated a little bit because they are going over that transition. They're even missing Diego Jota as well. Don't forget about him. He would have been playing over Firmino today. So
player.
Yeah, another injury prone. So this is the problem with Liverpool. We know that it's the problem with Liverpool. When they're clicking, they're amazing, but they got to have everything clicking. And when you go up against the best team in Europe, one of the best teams ever in terms of Manchester City, you can't afford to have. You can't afford that. Season they did win, they were perfect, and the other 2 seasons where they were basically perfect, they lost by 1 point. So that's the standard you got to reach.
Exactly. If I'm talking about City, you go into, for instance, Liverpool are lucky enough that they dropped 2 points against Newcastle. Now, it was a tough game in the end because a lot of people think, the ref gave away a lot of things and stuff like that, so that way it could end up 3-3. But overall, this should have been a game that Manchester City looked at it was just slipping away entirely. Whether it be because of the goals or the referee decisions, I kind of expected a little bit more from Holland, especially where that miss very obvious. It's not the first time he's missed like that, but it's fine. Sometimes those things happen. I'm not gonna be sitting here like that was the miss. That's gonna define this game. Whatever. You take a miss. You win with 3-3. It changes into a tie. The only thing you blew is this week's lead, which is obviously Arsenal. So we'll get to that. I think overall this isn't compared to like Liverpool and Chelsea and like United. This isn't a concerning thing for City. They dropped 2 points. They pick up for the next game, which will probably be Crystal Palace. So it's not a big deal. You play Crystal Palace, you play Nottingham Forest, you play Aston Villa. You picked up the points there, and then I have no concern whatsoever to think. The only concern which I think for City is sometimes is maybe Tottenham, which is because they like grinding points. But other than that, I just think this is a tie. I see nothing else. We've talked about before that they have such an incredible squad. Why even worry? But on Newcastle's end, they're looking pretty.
They're my sleeper pick.
They're looking pretty well.
They're my sleeper pick. I know we haven't done predictions, but I've been saying this for months. And that, to be honest, City shouldn't. Even Pep, I don't think he was too heartbroken about the 2 points drop, because there are going to be so many teams that go to St. James Park and drop points. So many. That is going to be a fortress for Newcastle, and they are coming. They are coming. Eddie Howe is doing a terrific job. They played so well. There was a 20-minute period in the first half after City got the goal, and when Newcastle leveled and all that, where Newcastle were just getting the ball to St. Maximum and just driving at them and driving at them and driving at them every time. And St. Maximum, his end product isn't the best, so he gets a lot of chances because he's so aggressive with the ball, but his end product isn't the best. But man, they were putting City under so much pressure, and that crowd. Kyle Walker was, God bless that man. He was having a rough time, and so that's going to happen with many teams. I don't think it's any sign of weakness in Manchester City. It's just I rate Newcastle that highly, and I think everyone will see where I place them in my prediction. You guys might be a little bit surprised, but I truly believe in that team and that club. They also have the benefit of not having any European football in a year where I think European football is going to hurt a lot of the big teams, and so if they could just make a few more signings. I know they are having issues with FFP, which is why they can't splurge right now as people expect them to, and they're also having an issue of just getting the right the quality players in, because they still don't really want to go to Newcastle. People don't want to go there yet, like the top players,
right?
So they're still running into those issues. But if they can just kind of crack outside that top 6, that's their goal for this season, is just start cracking into the shield that is the top 6. Just sit right outside it, be the first team that's outside it. And then you can just keep trying to, build up the wages, get into Europa Conference League or Europa League and stuff like that. And you can go from there. That should be their goal. And they have a likely chance of doing it.
Yeah, I think Newcastle, Brighton, these are teams that are playing extraordinarily well against all the positions. I don't really have much complaint on them. They've the expectation for another team's varies on depending on how you play. For instance, City's expectation is always to win. Newcastle's great to come out of a point. We're always going to be differentiating on the expectations depending on where you end up. But I mean, it's just like you said. Without European football, these two teams look like they can have the most benefit without it, and they can really show on such a tough season that they can retain such quality against these oppositions. So. Again, so to hold down and probably not get injured would probably be best, and I just have a whole lot of faith on both. Quick rundown to finish up the league. I don't want to talk about Premier League all the entire time, but I want to come on your big win on Arsenal, tipping on top of the table for a week now. That's 9 points in total. I'm going to be honest with you, and this is something that my dad wasn't really keen when we were watching the game together, but it was like, and we discussed it when we were playing FIFA, I think, yesterday, but it was in a different conversation. You weren't really listening. How this is like feeling when I used to watch the Premier League in high school in 2012, 2013, watching Arsenal top 4, and you're watching some of the plays that occur, and the feeling of nostalgia that I got when I watched like players like Odegaard and linking up together with Gabriel Jesus looking over Ganiter with Martinelli, and just seeing like the quick, like the fast, and like always like thinking like how to get back the ball and fast. Always dominating, completely on steady, and being steady with it. It's not gonna say that Bournemouth wasn't trying because they had some ideas that they were trying to do. It almost looked like they were gonna get back into the game, but for the most part, it just seemed like an Arsenal win and just a wonderful goal by Saliba. So I don't know. I'll leave it to you. I mean, it's your team, man. I don't really know what else to tell you.
Uh, if you are a football fan and you don't want to root for like the super teams, Arsenal are the most exciting team in the league. I'm not saying that I am an Arsenal fan, but like I can say that objectively, they are the most exciting team in the league. They're the youngest team in the league. They have star power. They have English star power. They have Brazilian star power. They got my beautiful French center back who has a beautiful song that's going to piss off so many people when the fans sing it because it's catchy and they sang it for like 15 minutes straight. Even pissed off the commentators because it was so catchy. So it's listen. I don't want to go overboard, like I said with Liverpool and like I said with United and everyone. I'm also going to do the same thing with Arsenal. They're not good. I don't see them challenging City to win the league, so everyone calm down there. But that's not the goal of Arsenal this season. The goal is to continue improving on the process that they put in place. And can Arsenal stay at the top of the table? They have Fulham at home. They have Aston Villa with Gerrard, who is struggling a little bit, at home, before they go to Old Trafford and Manchester United. So, yes, you can, the Emirates is a fortress again. You don't want to go to the Emirates. It's a tough place to play. So you can easily see them getting another 6 points. That'll be 5 wins on the season. Let's, again, not get too carried ahead of ourselves. Let's make sure they actually do it, because this isn't like City. We don't talk about Arsenal like, City goes to Crystal Palace, they'll beat them. City goes and plays, Bournemouth, 4-0. Like, we can't say that about Arsenal. They've never done that, okay? So we can't, I can't sit here and say, Fulham at home, easy win. Aston Villa at home, 100. No. They have not proven that.
First time we're seeing it again.
Yeah, this is the first time we're seeing domination from Arsenal in games. Now, they have to do it on a consistent basis. If they do that, they get 5 wins, they head into Old Trafford, and, I think they go Old Trafford, and they also play Spurs in the North London Derby. They play City at home, and they play Liverpool at home in October. Once they go through that run, we will see what they have, but just don't put a ceiling on this team because this team is flowing. The vibe is wonderful. They're happy, and I think one of the biggest differences between them and I think more of like a realistic rivals in terms of I don't see City as their rival. Maybe Liverpool, depending on how Liverpool do, but Chelsea and Spurs. We compare Arsenal to those two teams at the moment because those are the two teams that are trying to get back into the Champions League. They play the most attractive football. Chelsea got smoked. I think we probably, have to just quickly touch on that. But, Chelsea is in a little bit of limbo, and Spurs play a different style of game. They win, they get results, but it's not very eye-catching, and they don't really dominate. So, I'm going to leave it there. I don't want to talk too much, about them. They're doing what they have to do. Let's see what they can do. Because this is a different Arsenal team. We haven't really seen this version of the Arsenal team that are trying to dominate games. Let's see if they could do it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I leave it there and wait to see her for a couple games. Wait to see her on our line table decisions, and we'll leave it there. I'm not really keen on too much yet because it's too exciting to see something of a return, if you will, on this type of football.
I will gloat and make fun to my friends, but just deep down, everyone know I am staying calm. I'm just having fun. It's been years of pain. Come on, I want to have my fun a little bit. I hope we stay at the top of the table, just so it gives me more ammo to just completely banter around. But I'm not being serious with any of it.
Well, now that you mentioned Leeds, 3-0. How does that even happen? How do you come off?
Jesse Marsh.
How do you come off, right, from tying to Spurs, right, looking like the most dominating side, to then losing the Leeds, which are now in pretty nice form. They picked up a win the first game, second game they tied, and then now they won again, so they're sitting third place. Are Leeds the real, you know what I mean? Is Leeds the real player here that are doing massively? They have to, they have to play a cup game, but then they have Brighton and Everton, so I would say
That Brighton game is going to be interesting.
Exactly.
They can possibly, no one predicted it, but they could possibly be in the Brighton Newcastle range. Just like how no one predicted West Ham would lose 3 in a row. But I don't see it. I think Leeds, they're going through, the thing about Leeds is they have to have a lot of that energy. I watched how they played under Jesse Marsh at the end of last season. They were too aggressive on a lot of games, but they were able to stay up, and so that was the job. Then they can keep playing this very high energy level, but again, I don't think we should get too carried away with it. The squad, there's a lot of exciting players there, a lot of exciting Americans as well with the American manager, but I think everyone should calm down a little bit. It was a great win. I think it says a little bit more about Chelsea's issues because they walked into Ellen Road and they got annihilated. And so, they didn't get annihilated playing wise. They could have scored a few, but that goes deeper into their issues. They do have some frontline issues and just a lot of turnover, a lot of changing things. There are a lot of clubs this season that are going through a lot of change, and so that's why I think we're going to see and it's very, very competitive. The teams are all really, really good, so we're going to see those results from time to time. Real awesome credit to Leeds. Hopefully they can keep it going. I don't think they can, but hopefully they can.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Chelsea, they play Leicester, Southampton, and West Ham. Those are the next 3 games.
They got to win those.
You just have to. You've been struggling for now to pick up wins, and each time it was worse, from a small victory at Everton to a tie at home against Tottenham, and now Leeds. So this bounce back at Stamford Bridge against Leicester has to be definitive, or else it just keeps
that's an important 3 stretch because that's 9 points. They need to get 9 points. Those are all teams they should beat. I know this is the Prem and things can happen, but I think everyone talks about Chelsea right now. We have just this little bit of doubt. We don't exactly know why they're struggling because they were title challengers last season. Apparently, that's what we all thought with Lukaku. And yeah, maybe it is that striker position. They're trying to go after Aubameyang, which is a very short-term fix. Would it work? We'll see. But they gotta, put the ball in the back of the net. They are struggling with that. I think have they scored? No, they haven't. The 2 goals at Tottenham were not from their forward players.
Yeah, they were.
The penalty was a penalty, and then they didn't score at Leeds. So none of their frontline players have even scored in 3 games. That's worrying.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see what's gonna happen in these. So we'll also leave it at that. We can't really when you're so early into the season, it's so hard to just be definitive on stuff because it's not. Right now, it's game by day, or week by week. So, you're not really thinking of how you are after 10, 15, 20 games when you start playing. We have to see how after 10 weeks can we see what this Chelsea side really looks like, what it's playing like, what are the real issues. It's just like every season. So, we can't really talk much more than that. But we can only praise what's happening at the moment. And moving over to La Liga for a little bit. Just because I want to touch up on 3 main teams. Villarreal playing ridiculous. We're talking. They picked up a win against Atletico Madrid. It was 2-0. And some of the players had a little bit of a spat with their own fans. Atletico's loss. I think it was Hermoso. It just seems like everything's going well for Villarreal at the moment. It's a tough loss for Atletico considering they played well in their first game, so now they have to come back for their second game. But overall, Villarreal played well. I think that they could look for a top 4 spot comparing how last season they're now in Conference League, or they're qualifying for Conference League, so they're gonna have to play another playoff game, I believe. But other than that, I think they have the ability to stay. It's a little early to say these kind of things, but they are playing well. I like the way they're playing currently, so I will say something like that. But I do.
Unai Emery doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Even when he loses players, he seems to adapt to what he has, and they're playing quite well in La Liga and in general international competition compared to like last year. So I want to touch on Real Madrid and Barcelona. First, let's go really quick. Barcelona just lost. Tough CDM. or just in general, such a tank of a player, Casemiro. So we have two things. One, they won comfortably. And then I never saw it as an issue, especially when I was watching the game. It just looks like such a dominating side like Real Madrid, and it looked like they're going to keep going that way. Two, are these youngsters going to keep up the work that Casemiro have? Is the game going to have to adapt a little bit for them, or do you think it's just going to be, it's just going to have to be almost the same thing without Casemiro, or is it going to be a slight change?
You can't be understudies forever. So they got to step up eventually. And, no one thought Casemiro would be the first to go, but he was. So Tchouaméni, give Tchouaméni a little bit more time. It's his first season. Mm-hmm. But guys like Camavinga and Valverde, especially Valverde, I want to see him really, really step up. I love that guy. Love that player. I don't love him as much as Luka Modric. Watching his goal made me just want to buy a Luka Modric shirt. What a legend, honestly. Luka is...
Yeah, definitely. Applaud by the Liga
fan. I have no words to describe him. He is like fine wine of the most... I don't even drink, but the most beautiful wine of all time. Legendary player. I need to get his shirt. And he played for Spurs. I don't even care. I mean, he is amazing. I love him. I love him so much. He's a terrific player. I want him to play forever. But, the young guys are going to be the future of that midfield, and they need a carry as well. And even Benzema's getting up there, so the front line's going up there. Vinicius just need to keep doing what Vinicius does. Best left winger in the world at the Neymar. Yeah, probably Neymar. But Vinicius is probably second. Is Neymar even left wing anymore?
That's another conversation. He plays more of as a 10 currently.
Neymar's not a left. Yeah, Vinicius is a left winger. Yeah, he's like left wing. He's the best in the world. He's amazing. So we'll see how they do. Real Madrid just keep on ticking. I mean, this is the most stable Real Madrid have felt in a while. There's no drama around them. Give credit to Florentino Perez. The finances are great. They just got a steal of a deal off Casemiro as well. I know losing Casemiro is not good, but I mean, damn, 60 million, you gotta take it. So they just feel so stable, they know what they're doing and they're building for the future while still trying to compete for the present. And there's nothing really to say around them. They're doing really well.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really see a problem with Real Madrid. It just feels like it's just back to business as casual as usual. So I really have nothing to say in terms of Real Madrid.
Perfect manager too, because it feels like casual.
Exactly.
Everything's stable, and you just have Ancelotti just chilling there, and it's just the perfect man. You don't need someone loudmouthed or just everyone stay calm. And Ancelotti's perfect for that squad specifically.
Yeah, it's great to see him chill for his last season. It's almost like a good farewell and a good place, so that way he can stabilize whether he wins something or not. I think this team is playing really well, and hopefully it can keep building off after he ends. But I do want to move on to one of your other players that you've come to like that's coming up as well, and consider how the young and old also mix here as well. Robert and Ansu Fati have been mixing around with Dembélé in this Barcelona side as well. While it did start kind of rough in the beginning when it was 1-1, and then after that, it looks like a proper team. You know what I mean? It almost felt like this. I'm watching a side that knows what they want to do, how they want to dominate the game, right? Statistically, they were on top of them all the time against Real Sociedad. So Barcelona is the first time in terms of a competitive competition that I see the energy, the wants. Obviously, last game was kind of rough because they did try to score in a lot of occasions, plus 20 shots. But coming in this game and really taking off that and really finishing off what it needs to be done, this seems like a well-run side for this game. I'm not gonna go more than that because, again, as we talked about, it's just 2 games. You need to see how the season goes. You have different games coming up in terms of Sunday, then the following Saturday, etc. And these are the games where you see where okay, how is this side gonna fit out in the league? Where are we going after 10 games? So at the current moment, what we're talking about right now, Barcelona look like a great side to watch.
Yeah. Lewandowski's fitting in beautifully. He's happy. He's smiling, having fun. And Xavi is a just terrific person overall. He's a terrific manager as well. I love his play style. I know what Xavi's trying to do at that club and how they want to play. And I am I'll be paying close attention to Barcelona because I am tired of pundits and people disrespecting the number 10 at that club. I understand he got hurt and he has to fight his way back.
Hmm.
He's the best player at that club. I don't care how young he is.
Wow.
I love him. I love him to death. He is so talented, so special, mentally and his skill wise, his mindset. I'm telling you guys, if he just is he had a big injury, so it takes time to come back. But when he does come back and he takes his starting spot and he gets the games every 3-4 days, and gets
Right.
that consistency, we will all see. We will. There's a reason why he has that number 10 shirt. He's a terrific player, and he is the one out of every league in the world. He is the one player I'm watching the closest because I think he has the biggest step to take out of all the young players in the world. His step to greatness is the largest, that he can take, and I think he can do. So I'm really excited. I think Lewandowski will help him so much. Having someone like that as the guy you can play off of, and having also Dembele possibly on the other side, or whether it be Rafinha, and there's so many talented players, but essentially that he isn't burdened with having to do everything. Like when he first came into the squad, it was like, oh my God, Ansu Fati. Now he can get that help. Very similar to kind of like what Bukayo Saka has at Arsenal. I'm not saying Saka's anywhere near as good. I don't think he is, but like it's the same situation. You have the help around you to help you flourish, and I'm
Right.
really really eager to see how he does.
Yeah. I hope he can stabilize and finally get the chances that he can really, really play this much, especially this season, and don't have to worry about his injuries. So if he does that, I think he'll be such a major part as well in terms of depth for the club, and hopefully he can carry on being like that. I did have a couple other things to talk about, but considering the time that we have, I'll mention them in the next time's episode. Well, they're just casual things that I want to put in more other than just these top leagues. So we'll leave it at that. As for other content on this channel, I think, and in general, if you're listening in on Spotify, make sure to check on the channel so that way I'm going to start in 2.5 weeks. There's going to be a video drop where I do a video and essay, and not necessarily have to be always talking about relative to the podcast itself. It could just be something that I've been keen on talking about as a video. So it'll probably be a video essay, maybe 10 to 15 minutes if you ever seen something like that before on YouTube. I'm trying to do a similar style like that and see if I could put something out based on what I feel is necessary maybe to talk about more in depth, or whether it be in the podcast or not. It doesn't matter. So it'll also be related to football, of course, but just different aspect, different talk, something else that has nothing to do with the podcast. But I still want to do those every now and then, a video style form. So we'll leave it at that. We'll see you guys next week. Hopefully this week brings in a lot of football. We're closing in on the qualifications for the international competitions as well. And we'll see you guys on the next podcast. So see you then.
Saliba. Bye bye.